Hi guys, Cam from Seatskins Leather Trim Kits here again with another how to install your console cover. We have many different styles and patterns and logos available on these. This particular one is a SS logo in silver with silver stitch. Goes well in many VEs. First thing though, I wanted to quickly discuss about VE console lids is that there are three of them. One is a sliding one. We don't do a lot of those, and there's not a ton of models that actually have those. So let's talk about the main two types, which are the low rubber one, which is in a lot of the lower end models, variants, and then there's the mid height one, which came in the slightly higher end models. So the low one is rubber. It has a grain texture to look like leather, but it has no stitching at all. No stitching here. And that is the easiest way to tell if it's a low one. If it does have stitching, it's most likely a factory mid-height. That's what we call a mid-height console lid. It has stitching down the sides, stitching here, a little bit of suede type material, and underneath it has staples to hold it on. Underneath there, they're pretty similar. I'll take the base off of this, but yeah, the base on this is very similar to that. Anyway, let's get into it. So we're going to start by pulling out some screws. If you like this sort of content, please do like and subscribe. That'll let us know that you want to see more stuff from us. We're hoping to do more of this, including a lot of seat installs to really help guide our customers through every single minor detail, minor step of the process to make it a far less daunting task for the home DIYer to take on. If you've got all the steps there and reasonable skills, pretty much anyone can do this to a good level. So, with that said, let's get started on this one. Use a little Pro Tool because there's just a few clips that are sort of holding it on there on the sides. Again, I like to put all the screws together with the plastic trim and put that aside so we don't lose anything. On these low style VE console lids with the rubber, they have this little lip here. This is not 100% essential, but I do like to, when we do them in here, just trim that off. That way we have a bit more space for excess of the thickness of the leatherette or leather that we're putting on. So that's pretty straightforward. We're just trimming here. Hopefully this camera is close enough to see where I'm cutting there. Okay, now that's done. Let's have a look at what is front, what is rear, and a quick little general discussion about how we put our logos direction-wise. We, by default, always put our logos so that they're facing to the front of the vehicle. So if you look into the vehicle, you'll see the logo sitting the correct way. We have had some people in the past say that they want it that way so that when you're sitting in the seat, it looks correct. But for me and for large majority of our customers, it makes more sense for it to be that way. That way, your logos on your seats or up on your parcel tray in a ute, they're all sitting in the same direction. So that makes it pretty straightforward for us to figure out what is the front of this. And the front of this is where this cutout is for the little button to release this to go up. So that's going to go that way. We can also tell from these little cutouts. We've made these cutouts to go around these screw holes. If you've got it the wrong way around, it'll be pretty obvious straight away that these aren't lining up with screw holes. Next step is turn the thing inside out. The reason we make these videos is to inform you of what's involved in doing this sort of work, installing these parts. Obviously, we've done a lot of the harder parts of this project, being the pattern making, the tailoring it to fit the part really well, all the cutting and stitching done perfectly. So it's just the fitting at the end, and hopefully with these guides you're able to do it, and I believe anyone with a little time and patience can do this sort of stuff. We're going to use a staple gun for this installation. However, there are other methods. If you don't have one of those, there's some gluing methods. I'll tack on a little video at the end showing a description of those methods. So next step, we're going to warm this up a little. I've said this a number of times, but you don't have to use a heat gun. That could be a little dangerous for someone who hasn't used that before with this sort of project. You can just use a hairdryer. You can put it out in the sun, hopefully on a sunny day. I'm in Melbourne, so that's not that often. So we use a heat gun. So we just warm it up. I'm touching the leatherette, making sure that it's not getting super hot. So again, the front is with that cutout, and the front of this is the bottom of the logo. So it doesn't really matter if you start at the front or the rear. You want to get the seam sitting just around the corner sort of thing, and get one corner around. Try to keep the seams roughly in the right area. Going to be able to play around with them a little bit later. Again, I'm using my special tool here, the gut. Get the seam sitting over the edge. And of course, we're being careful not to tear it, but we have round corners on all of these cuts, so that if it were sharp corners, it would tear easily. So that was pretty straightforward. Now, the next step is, and you'll notice here, that the seam's sitting a little funny, and we don't like it like that. This is the front, so we really want to get this nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push forward and try and fold the seam so that it's all sitting one way, in one direction, and looking nice. Now, these back corners are sitting pretty close to where I want them. I'll just move it around a little bit. till I'm reasonably happy that the seams are pretty much all sitting in the right direction. Then we want to have a little look at how the seams are sitting. Now for me, it looks like they're sitting over this way a little. At the back, it looks pretty good. I'm looking at the distance from here to the edge. At the front, I'm looking at the distance from here to the edge, and I can see that that is a good 5-10 mil further that way. So we'll move it across a bit. Have another look. Pretty happy. If anything, it's gone too far. Bring it back a little. Now I'm happy to turn it over and start stapling. Now we just go bit by bit with the stapling. At the rear, we want to put a bit of tension so that it's nice and taut. And again, we want to make sure those seams are sitting pretty good from the edge before we go and put some staples in here. Pull it nice and taut, hold that, flip over, and whack a couple of staples in there. The rear corners are looking pretty good, so I'm not going to muck around with that too much. That one a little bit. So I just pull it further than it needs to go so that I can flip the seam and make it sit how I want it to. Yes, I'm happy now. If you're having trouble turning them with your fingers, you could use something like this or a smaller kitchen knife, something like that, to get in there and get the seam sitting nice. Let's try that. So if I get in there and get under the seam like this, I can sort of get under it and turn it with that. Personally, I just like to use my fingers. I can feel what it's doing. All right, now I'm pretty happy with that. I'll put a bit of tension on that there and get a staple in over there. Just one for now. Why only one? Just in case you want to undo things, you can pull a staple out. You don't want to have to pull out 4 if there's no need to. Super specialist tool right here, kitchen knife. The good thing about an old worn out kitchen knife is it's not very sharp, so it's not going to cut through as long as you're careful. And so I just get that under the seam and use that as a little tool to turn the seam and make it sit how I want it to. Staple in there also. All right, now the sides. Let's now check again that we're pretty happy there, pretty happy there. I am. Now we'll have a look at the seams on the sides here. It's probably sitting over this way a tiny bit, so I'll tweak it that way a little bit. Put a little bit of tension on, go around the screw there, and get a couple of staples in the center here. With that side done, we go and get a little tension over this way, make sure we're happy still. Get a couple in. All right, now I would like to add just a tiny bit of heat in these back corners. Again, not essential, but just helps. And I want to get this corner seam around a bit further. Not too far, because that'll muck up how the seam looks on top. All right, a few more down here, little tension. Go around that screw hole. Again, this method using the stapler is just the quickest way. You can do this um, with glues. It's just not as fast. You would have to, hot glue, hold, try not to burn yourself, um, and then move on. So this is just the faster method. Once the base goes back on, um, it's all held. So at that point, it doesn't matter how it was held underneath. Pretty close to done. So now it's basically just putting the screws in the bottom. Just have one last little look, make sure we're happy, move things around a little bit. That seam looked a little over that way, and in the middle, a little that way. So we straighten that all out a bit. Now I'm happy. Now we just need to do a little bit of trimming. So there are these 3 prongs on either side. You'll remember we pried them off with a little pry tool. We've got to find those holes and cut a few little slits for them to be able to click back in. So you can find them by lining up the screw holes and then seeking them out by finding where that is. They can be a little tricky to find on these ones. And then I just find a little slit is all it actually needs. Now that slit is about 10-15 mil down from that seam, or about 20 to 25 mil down from the actual corner. Obviously, be careful. You'd be trying pretty hard to do this, but be pretty careful not to go all the way through. You got the rubber under there as well, though, so you'd have to be trying really hard. All right, now we're going to actually go and put this back on. So we line up the screws and then start clicking the sides in. Yes, yes, yes. 6 screws to finish it off. I think I mentioned this in the mid-height console video. You can either take it out like this, which you need to pull apart the back part of the console to do that. Or you can actually just undo these screws in the car, leave this plastic part in the car, and just take the lid out. So yeah, that's it for this one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. There'll be links down there to products of this type. This is the VE low style console lid. Again, there's the mid-height one. There's a description in the listings on eBay and on our website to help you identify like I've described. That's it. Yeah, go check out the website. Go to our Facebook and Instagram and hit us up with a like there if you like this sort of stuff. And we'd really appreciate that. Get your trim on.